And is the speaker on? Is it this thing? Oh, yeah. Great, okay. Thank you. This one. That one. They're supposed to have this. What's the YouTube? Let me see if I could use this speaker. It looks like it's happy, so if you put it right, well, this stuff. Yeah.
Hello? There, hello? Yeah. As long as this is moving, then that's.
Oh, great. Okay.
I'm here.
Thanks so much for your help on this. Oh, great. Great. All right. Hello, everyone. That is here. Hi. We're about to get started. We're getting set up. I'm going to share my screen momentarily. And for anyone watching the live stream, please feel free to add some additional comments. I'm monitoring it on my laptop over here. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to type those there. All right, I'm going to share my screen as soon as I have presentation loaded up. Oops. Oh, there we go. Great. Okay, fabulous. PowerPoint is loaded. Going to share my screen. Share sound. Okay. Whoop. Taking its time here. I'm in some trouble. There we go. I'm watching the live, and so far, there we are. There's just a bit of a delay on the live. Then first I'll get started with some introductions. My name is Noemi. I am a doctoral intern here at CAPS, which means I provide therapy, and I'm also in my last year of my PhD program. And this workshop is not therapy. It is providing information that you can use in your own life. And please feel free to take or leave whatever you'd like to do. And if, say, you are looking for therapy, we can call our front desk here at CAPS or walk in and you can schedule a first appointment. And we have psychiatrists and case managers on staff, as well as therapy groups and workshops that are free for any amount of students to access, however many times they would like to. And also, if you are in crisis, our front desk number doubles as a crisis line. So during our working hours, you can call and you can be seen by a clinician here. And then also outside of our working hours, we have additional staff that can help you in crisis. And also we have an after hours crisis line where if you call the front desk, we'll just forward you right to there. So no matter what time of day you call, you can get in touch with a licensed clinician if you're actively in crisis. That way, if it's really urgent, you don't have to wait until the next day or wait until Monday at 8 a.m. to be seen. Does anyone have any questions about that? All right, then this is the sleep wellness part of a 4-part wellness workshop series on sleep, mood, thought, stress, and emotions. And today we're going to be doing the sleep workshop. And these workshops are available for all students to join, and you don't have to attend all of them. You can attend the ones that you are the most interested in. And I may ask questions and ask for engagement or participation, but just know you do not need to. This is not meant to be a type of mandatory presentation. If you would like to just sit and ingest information, please do. And I will go next, but first, for anyone who would like to share anything about themselves, can you share your name and what you're hoping to get from this workshop?
I don't know if I can go. Sophia, hoping to get maybe some just like good sleep tips, maybe something I didn't already practice, but anything else I can implement.
Great, thank you.
I'm Amy, same thing as Sophia. I just want to like learn some new tips or methods to just help maybe get more sleep or just sleep better.
Thanks. I'm Miranda, and I'm also learning how to better my sleep, so I'm more productive during the day and feel like more well rested.
All right, great. So a lot of goals for improved sleep. Okay, so today we're going to be covering 3 learning objectives. One is learning more about how sleep impacts your mind and body. So really just biological and cognitive impacts of sleep, lack of sleep, and adequate and healthy sleep. The second one is learning about the physical and mental benefits of a good night's sleep. And then the third is learning the daily habits and strategies to improve sleep. It's really going into, if you're dissatisfied with your sleep right now, what can you do to improve it? And what types of things should you be targeting? Next, we're going to cover sleep myths and facts. So a lot of things that preconceptions that people have about sleep that we think that commonly in pop culture and just generally is true about sleep and healthy sleep and unhealthy sleep, but may not be the case. And one is to function best, you need exactly 8 hours of sleep. That is definitely false. Though it is recommended by experts to get between 7 and 9 hours of sleep for adults to be able to function at their best the next day and just kind of throughout the week. It is not true for everyone. And it's not true of all life stages either. It's better if you get between 7 and 9. Definitely if you are getting very low sleep consistently or really abnormal sleep. So maybe some nights you're getting 2 hours of sleep, other nights you're getting 10, you're going to be seeing some unhealthy outcomes there. And across the week, it also doesn't work as an average. You can't get an average of, say, 8 hours of sleep and be as healthy as someone who's getting 8 hours of sleep every single night, where maybe you're getting, let's say, 4 one night, 10 another, and 16 another. You're not going to see the same outcomes in health as someone who's getting 8 hours. Next is, if you can get it, more sleep is always healthier. that's not true. And that is something that is tough, where there are some health impacts of getting too much sleep, where sometimes you're not really reaching full arousal in the day, you're not reaching your full energy potential, you're staying a bit groggy throughout the day. And in addition, and this is where it kind of gets dicey, is that who is most likely to sleep for longer periods of time might be people that are struggling with other health conditions that make them more fatigued. Maybe someone struggling with restful nights of sleep where they're going through all their sleep stages. And maybe someone that has really low mood, like depression. They're a common symptom that we see there is hypersomnia, which just means an excessive amount of sleep. And that usually interferes with your day-to-day, interferes with your morning routine, interferes with what you're able to get done. Then the next myth is that some people function perfectly on 4 hours of sleep. This one is marked as false, but I also want to talk a little bit more about it. Because yes, it is false, but everybody is different in all of our sleep schedules, and where our bodies naturally like to get sleep is different. Some people really do function really well on 4 hours of sleep, but there's a difference between someone who can function really well on 4 hours of sleep and then getting 4 hours of sleep every single night. Like, say you're getting pretty good amount of sleep the rest of the week, and you have a night in the week that maybe you're getting 4 hours, you may wake up feeling alert and you're able to do all the tasks in the day. But I think it's really important to note for the 4 hours as well, those 4 hours, they may not be impacting you in the short term. But if you continue to get 4 hours, it could be impacting your health in the long term. But one of the other reasons why I do discuss this one more is that no one's going to be functioning perfectly in the long term on 4 hours of sleep. There may be some case studies of people who do, not saying they don't exist, but that is not the norm. And it's also not the end of the world if you get 4 hours of sleep. Because that's something I want to highlight as I'm talking about the negative health impacts of poor sleep, not to be stressed about not getting enough sleep. Because if there's one thing that doesn't help you fall asleep at night, it's being stressed about the amount of sleep you're getting. The next myth I want to touch up on is you can make up for lost sleep on the weekends. That is definitely false. Where again, it's going back to getting a certain number of hours of sleep per week on average across every night isn't as healthy as getting about the same amount of hours of sleep every night. So sometimes people will not sleep a lot during the week to study or because they have exams, and then they'll try to make up for lost sleep on the weekends. That's typically ineffective. And the next one is the older you get, the fewer hours of sleep you need. Also false. I would say that something that trips people up here is, say, babies need a lot of hours of sleep. That's absolutely true. And babies also have extremely restless sleep. So they're not getting a lot of consistent deep sleep. And when people become older or elderly, their sleep quality goes back down, where again, they're experiencing a lot of wakefulness at night. So maybe they are getting more or less sleep than they used to, but they still do need that sleep. Next one is a good workout in the evening will make you tired, so you'll fall asleep faster. This is true in moderation. And a big distinction I want to make here is, yeah, working out regularly is shown to improve sleep quality and to improve people's ability to fall asleep. But timing does matter here, where it's recommended not to work out under 3 hours before you're trying to go to bed. Because working out increases your body temperature quite a bit, and it can take 6 hours for your body temperature to go back to its baseline after you work out. And when you sleep, your body temperature is naturally going down. And then also with working out, if you're doing cardio, your heart rate's really pounding, maybe you have higher arousal, and that also is going to make it more difficult for you to sleep if you try to sleep directly after a workout. And then the next one is power naps can be restorative. The answer is yes, but in moderation as well. where the key word here is power nap. And power nap, say, that's a weird distinction from regular nap. Because with power naps, there's a set timer. You are not going to sleep and then sleeping however long you'd like to. It's usually a timer. That way, when you're waking up, you're not feeling groggy. You're not entering stages of sleep, meaning stage 3 and 4, where when you're woken up during those stages of sleep, you're really groggy. And also, being careful with naps and taking naps in moderation and planning that is really important. Because if you take a nap too close to when you're going to go to bed, say in the afternoon or after 3 p.m., it's going to mess up your ability to go to sleep that night. Because your natural body's rhythm is thinking, well, we already had sleep. We have to wait X number of hours before we feel sleepy again. And then the last one is alcohol or marijuana helps you sleep. False. It helps you get to sleep. Because alcohol and marijuana are both depressants. They decrease your arousal, they make you more relaxed, and they can help you fall asleep more immediately, but they don't help you stay asleep. Because as alcohol and marijuana, since they're depressants, they're kind of acting, depressant is really just meaning it lowers our arousal, it enters our neurochemistry and neurotransmitters, and it makes us more relaxed and makes us less aroused. But then it wears off as we're sleeping. And when it wears off, there's a shift happening in our brain that almost mimics when we're waking up. Like, oh, this thing is being taken away. This relaxing, say, neurochemicals being taken away, and your body's picking up on this change and maybe transitioning you to a bit more wakefulness. So alcohol and marijuana, it helps immediate sleep, but then it's typically associated with worse sleep at night, pretty throughout the night, where in some cases for a lot of people, it is better to maybe end up going to sleep later and sleeping better than going to sleep earlier and sleeping worse. Any questions before I move on to the next slide? Next thing I'm going to touch upon is the 5 stages of sleep. And starting at the first one, stage 1 is the shallowest stage of sleep, where we're in between being awake and being asleep. So I maybe resembling being half awake. And typically during stage 1, our muscle activity starts to slow down, our body temperature starts to get lower. And then entering stage 2 lasts the longest. This is the longest stage of sleep. And during stage 2, our breathing pattern and heart rate are slowing down, and our body temperature is decreasing even more. And typically, it's decreasing our muscle tone, and our muscles are relaxing. And then going into stage 3 and 4, this is the deepest sleep that you're in. Your brain waves are really slow here. They're really slowing down continuously between stages 3 and 4, and your muscles are relaxing more and more. So for stage 3 and 4, this is typically what researchers are attributing the most physical benefits of sleep to. So it's really physically restorative in stage 3 and 4. And then there is stage 5, which a lot of people are familiar with. It's REM sleep. It's where we typically dream. Our brain waves are speeding up and are being really erratic and spiking a lot. And dreams are occurring, and our heart rate is increasing. And what researchers tie to stage 5 REM sleep is while stage 3 and 4 and 2 are related to more physical health, stage 5 is related to a lot of cognitive health, where stage 5 is theorized to help with memory consolidation and basically getting this mental activity is contributing to our ability to retain memory, retain information, and helps us feel more awake during the day. And with these stages of sleep, it's not you go through stage 1 through 5 in a night, and then you wake up when you're back to stage 1. You cycle through all the stages multiple times throughout the night. And one of the reasons why having long enough sleep is so important is so that you can get to stage 5 every time. And every time the cycle returns to stage 5 lasts longer and longer. So the first time in your sleep cycle, you enter stage 5. It's the shortest stage of stage 5. And then as you go throughout the night, stage 5 is getting longer. And so for sleep health, it's also not just the amount of sleep that you're getting, it's the distribution between all of these different stages that's important to overall health. For instance, if someone has a sleep disorder of some kind or medical disorder that's really impairing their ability to sleep through the night and having them wake up multiple times, that's a huge disruption to their sleep cycle. And they're going to see it, even if they don't even register for a lot of people, that they're going to bed at 12 and waking up at 8, they're getting those full 8 hours every single night. With someone with, say, sleep apnea, they may not know that their sleep is poor until they go to the doctor and get that checked out by a sleep specialist. And then the next one, I'm going to talk a little bit about the benefits of sleep. And first, I'll start with physical, where research has shown that people that have healthy sleep and consistent sleep have a stronger immune system. They're less likely to contract illnesses. When they have illnesses, they last less long and they typically recover a little bit faster. And then another physical benefit is that the body repairs itself during sleep. There's a bit of healing that goes on during sleep. That is to say, if you break your leg, sleeping is not going to make that big of a difference in, say, healing the bone. But if you're, say, an athlete and you're undergoing a lot of muscle strain day by day, sleep is incredibly important because that is helping your muscles fully relax and then be in better shape the next day. And then also it increases coordination and performance, healthy sleep. And so this really does tie into mental, because while our bodies are what's moving, it's our brains that are coordinating each stage of our body. Where when you have adequate sleep, you have better reaction time, and you have better reflexes, you have better sleep. So again, for athletes that play sports, this is really important. And then lastly, healthy sleep helps maintain a kind of a standard weight, where poor sleep really messes with our hunger signals, it messes with our cravings, and it messes with our digestion if we don't sleep enough. And so when people sleep more and we have more regular circadian rhythm, we're maybe feeling hungry at similar times throughout the day and are able to do more intuitive eating. And fewer cravings, that say if you're exhausted, maybe you'll have more cravings for sugar or something that's going to increase your level of arousal. And then the mental benefits of healthy sleep. It really improves concentration, improves thinking, it improves memory consolidation, just all around. And it improves judgment. Because when you're not sleeping a lot, you may make more impulsive decisions because you're not considering things enough, and your split-second decision-making isn't as good as when you have good sleep. And then same with studying. If you sleep an adequate amount, you're going to be able to retain memory more and be able to perform better on memory-based exams. On average, again, it matters more if you study at all versus if you sleep, but studying and good sleep will help retain that information. And healthy sleep is also a good mood enhancer. It helps regulate our emotions. Healthy sleep hormones are really important for sleep as well, and sleep helps regulate our hormones. And so people that sleep an adequate amount, their mood fluctuates less and their moods are more stable. And sleep also helps to relieve stress and increases people's ability to cope. And I already touched up on this last bit, but sleep also really helps assist our learning and our memory. Next one, I'm going to talk about what the impacts are of sleep deprivation. And sleep deprivation, it touches up on a lot of different things up here on the graphic, but I'm also going to touch up on more verbally. Where too little sleep messes with our hormone secretion, and it reduces our feelings of satisfaction after having a full meal. It alters our body's response to sugar intake and shorter sleep is also associated with more fluctuations in appetite and weight. And the next one is less sleep may be related. Research suggests, not conclusive, that that's less sleep associated with more inflammation due to the higher levels of stress hormones of cortisol in the blood. Then, like I said, poor lack of sleep really impacts our ability to be alert, aware, to learn, and to remember things. And another thing I want to touch up on is college students who pull an all-nighter are more likely to have a low GPA. On average, across all college students, yes. But this is a different topic, but students that tend to study in different ways effectively. Some students really do perform better when there is pressure. So they do study better when the test is coming up sooner. And so some students really do benefit from more intense studying closer to the exam. Though it is recommended to spread out studying, that is not where everyone is most effective. And then next, research does show that students who stay up late on school nights and try to make up for it by sleeping on the weekends are more likely to perform more poorly in the classroom. Because again, that's back to the regulation of our body clocks and our circadian rhythm. And then I've already spoken about marijuana and alcohol, but I do also want to touch up on smoking tobacco, where unlike marijuana and alcohol, smoking tobacco nicotine is a stimulant. So what's that's doing is that's impairing your ability to fall asleep at night because your arousal is going up with the stimulant. And then you have to wait for that stimulant to crash naturally until you can fall asleep as adequately as you could without it being. Does anyone have any questions about any of these points so far? All right, next slide. Next, and please feel free to participate if you would like to. Please feel free to type in the chat if you have any comments. But what are some of your sleep patterns like so far? So reflecting on how you engage in sleep, how often you sleep, what that looks like. Go for it.
It's definitely not good. I think, it's never really been addressed, but like, I feel like, I probably have some issues in terms of like, I don't know if oversleeping can be a sleep disorder, but, just, I always feel really tired, so I tend to oversleep a lot. And even those naps are not really naps, they can go from like an hour to 2 hours.
Right.
So, yeah, it's definitely one, so, I know for sure,
I see for you, where a lot of say college students aren't sleeping enough, you're sleeping a lot and you're noting that you're sleeping a lot.
yeah.
So that brings into questions, how well are you sleeping when you're asleep? Not that you have any way to measure that since you're unconscious.
Yeah.
And I guess there could be also other stressors or other things that are happening too in play, maybe contributing to higher feelings of fatigue and your body's higher perceived need for sleep. Anybody else want to share their sleep pattern?
I can. So I noticed that during the week, I go to sleep super late because of schoolwork. And then I wake up super early for school. And then during school, that's when I start to feel really tired because I didn't get enough sleep or as much as I wanted to. And then during the weekend, like you mentioned, trying to get all that sleep back, thinking that it will make up for what I missed in the week. But really, it's just like, I guess like an uneven sleeping pattern. I don't really have like a dedicated time to go to sleep every day. I just go to sleep late.
You go to sleep late when you have the opportunity to,
Yeah.
whenever you're done with what you have to do during the day.
Yeah.
And that's part of being a student that really messes with sleep. Is that you have a 9 to 5 or 8 to 6 job. When you clock out, maybe you're really clocking out. You can actually start going to sleep.
Mhm.
But if for some reason you have a lot of assignments that are due soon, there's a lot of personal time that you're expected to extend to meet those obligations. So the going to bed consistently late and then waking up, maybe getting as much sleep as you can that night before you have an obligation in the morning. Then for disclosing my sleep schedule is also not the best, something I'm working actively on. But I'm doing well by waking up at the same time every day, but I definitely don't go to sleep the same time every night. That's something that I've been actively working on, but that definitely fluctuates with the weeks and days. Next, I'm going to be talking about sleep hygiene, the different habits and practices that may help increase sleep quality. And there's a lot of different things that is recommended to increase sleep quality. And oh, actually, before we move on, I want to touch up on a comment from Vivi about her sleep schedule. She finds herself waking up often in the middle of the night, though she doesn't have trouble falling back asleep when that happens. Oops, sorry, take that. So it sounds like a lot of nighttime wakefulness going on for Vivi. So sleeping and then waking up, and it's really hard to tie back why is the wakefulness happening? Is it dreams? Is it hormone levels? Is it just arousal? Is it something about circadian rhythm? It can be a lot of things, and that's why sleep specialists are typically people go to see them often, but they're also really hard to get an appointment with. You have to go to a primary care doctor, and sometimes they'll recommend other things before they refer you to a sleep specialist. So I also just want to be very transparent about the difficulties that come with accessing that healthcare with the current medical system that we have. So let's talk a little bit more about what we can do in our own time without a sleep specialist to increase our sleep quality. There. Changing gears. One thing we can do, and let me just, sorry. Okay, one thing we're going to do is we're going to watch a video. Apologies, I forgot that that was there. It looks like, oh, no, there we go. Right.
It's 4 a.m. and the big test is in 8 hours, followed by a piano recital. You've been studying and playing for days, but you still don't feel ready for either. So what can you do? Well, you can drink another cup of coffee and spend the next few hours cramming and practicing. But believe it or not, you might be better off closing the books, putting away the music, and going to sleep. Sleep occupies nearly a third of our lives, but many of us give surprisingly little attention and care to it. This neglect is often the result of a major misunderstanding. Sleep isn't lost time, or just a way to rest when all our important work is done. Instead, it's a critical function, during which your body balances and regulates its vital systems, affecting respiration and regulating everything from circulation to growth and immune response. That's great, but you can worry about all those things after this test, right? Well, not so fast. It turns out that sleep is also crucial for your brain, with 1/5 of your body's circulatory blood being channeled to it as you drift off. And what goes on in your brain while you sleep is an intensely active period of restructuring that's crucial for how our memory works. At first glance, our ability to remember things doesn't seem very impressive at all. 19th century psychologist Hermann Ebbinghaus demonstrated that we normally forget 40% of new material within the first 20 minutes, a phenomenon known as the forgetting curve. But this loss can be prevented through memory consolidation, the process by which information is moved from our fleeting short-term memory to our more durable long-term memory. This consolidation occurs with the help of a major part of the brain, known as the hippocampus. Its role in long-term memory formation was demonstrated in the 1950s by Brenda Milner in her research with a patient known as HM. After having his hippocampus removed, HM's ability to form new short-term memories was damaged, but he was able to learn physical tasks through repetition. Due to the removal of his hippocampus, HM's ability to form long-term memories was also damaged. What this case revealed, among other things, was that the hippocampus was specifically involved in the consolidation of long-term declarative memory, such as the facts and concepts you need to remember for that test, rather than procedural memory, such as the finger movements you need to master for that recital. Milner's findings, along with work by Eric Kandel in the 90s, have given us our current model of how this consolidation process works. Sensory data is initially transcribed and temporarily recorded in the neurons as short-term memory. From there, it travels to the hippocampus, which strengthens and enhances the neurons in that cortical area. Thanks to the phenomenon of neuroplasticity, new synaptic buds are formed, allowing new connections between neurons and strengthening the neural network where the information will be returned as long-term memory. So why do we remember some things and not others? Well, there are a few ways to influence the extent and effectiveness of memory retention. For example, memories that are formed in times of heightened feeling or even stress will be better recorded due to the hippocampus's link with emotion. But one of the major factors contributing to memory consolidation is, you guessed it, a good night's sleep. Sleep is composed of 4 stages, the deepest of which are known as slow-wave sleep and rapid eye movement. EEG machines monitoring people during these stages have shown electrical impulses moving between the brainstem, hippocampus, thalamus, and cortex, which serve as relay stations of memory formation. And the different stages of sleep have been shown to help consolidate different types of memories. During the non-REM slow-wave sleep, declarative memory is encoded into a temporary store in the anterior part of the hippocampus. Through a continuing dialogue between the cortex and hippocampus, it is then repeatedly reactivated, driving its gradual redistribution to long-term storage in the cortex. REM sleep, on the other hand, with its similarity to waking brain activity, is associated with the consolidation of procedural memory. So based on the studies, going to sleep 3 hours after memorizing your formulas and 1 hour after practicing your scales would be the most ideal. So hopefully you can see now that skimping on sleep not only harms your long-term health, but actually makes it less likely that you'll retain all that knowledge and practice from the previous night. All of which just goes to affirm the wisdom of the phrase, sleep on it. When you think about all the internal restructuring and forming of new connections that occurs while you slumber, you could even say that proper sleep will have you waking up every morning with a new and improved brain, ready to face the challenges ahead.
I was looking at my laptop screen. All right, does anyone have anything that they took away from that video before we move on to some other tips on how to improve sleep hygiene? All right, we can move forward. So first we'll start with some of these, some good sleep habits to try and introduce to your day-to-day is having a fixed bedtime and wake time and keeping regular hours as much as you can. Life does happen, and it would be great if we could sleep exactly on the dot at, say, 12:01 every single night, but that's not how our bodies work, and that's not how we work. Our days would have to look exactly the same with the same levels of arousal and fatigue that are occurring, and with the same meals as well. So there's always going to be fluctuation to when we can fall asleep. And then only sleep when you're tired. Or if you're not tired after 30 minutes and others say 20 minutes, get out of bed, get up, and do a different activity. Not an activity that's going to be making you more energized, but something maybe relaxing and soothing. That way, you're taking pressure off of yourself as you're trying to get to sleep. And the key word there is trying. We don't fall asleep really well if we're trying to focus on falling asleep, because focus takes a lot of attention and arousal in our brains. And those two things don't go together. Next, light matters. So try not to use a smartphone device while you're trying to go to bed. And that's kind of twofold. One is that it's projecting light directly into your face, usually pretty close by your face. Another one too is there's reading on maybe a Kindle app, and then there's watching a video. Watching a video is a lot more engaging, and it's going to keep us from relaxing, where that's going to, again, increase the arousal levels in our brains, because there's a lot of stimuli coming at us of sight, movement, and sound. And next is learn to associate the bed with relaxation, and hopefully with sleep. So if you can, and this isn't realistic for a lot of people, because a lot of people live in dorms. And so sometimes your bed is basically your couch. But learning to associate your bed with relaxation, if you can relax in a place outside your bed, that's good too. That way you're still associating it with wakefulness, but you are still relaxed. And so especially not doing homework in bed, not having your bed be a place where you're catching up on work, because that's really going to inhibit your ability to fall asleep as easily in your bed as you could otherwise if you just move to a different room or to a different table. And next is to nap smart. So limiting the length of your naps to 30 or 45 minutes and trying to limit to before the afternoon or early afternoon. That way you can sleep better at night. Then if you can eliminate naps, do so. But sometimes if we're extremely tired and we have a lot of stressors in our life, naps can be really helpful. But shorter naps really helps us stay away from really falling into stage 3 and 4 of sleep, where we're entering deeper sleep and we're not waking up feeling refreshed. We're waking up feeling groggy. And then next one is avoiding stressful situations around bedtime, like paying the bills, watching a horror movie, watching the news. So trying to engage in maybe some hobbies or some interests that are relaxing to you. Like listening to music, playing some music. Sometimes people may watch a documentary. Again, trying not to watch something as you go to bed, but if you've had a really full day and the only time you have to relax is right before bed, try to pick and choose between what you do. Where if you're not going to be falling straight asleep, because you do need that time to relax before bed, even if it's very close to your bedtime, try to engage in things that aren't going to make you feel very energized or very emotional. And the next one is exercise regularly if you can. And this can look like multiple different things. It can look like taking walks throughout the day. It can look like doing cardio. It can look like having a regular gym schedule, but it's not the same for every person. Not every person enjoys the same types of exercise. Another one is not exercising right before bed. That way you can fall asleep more easily. And then also overall, taking care of your body. So avoiding drinking caffeine in the afternoon is a big one, because again, caffeine, like nicotine, and probably more people are drinking caffeine than using nicotine right now, is that it is a stimulant. And so if you have caffeine still in your system, still firing and still affecting your brain, and then you fall asleep and then suddenly it's gone, then even if you're able to get to sleep, you may experience poor sleep after you get to sleep. And then next one is not eating heavy, spicy, or really sugary foods, because your body does need some time to digest these foods, and eating certain types of foods can impact our ability to sleep. And then we touched up on this before, not using alcohol or other substances. Sorry, I was using my laptop again. Okay, there we go. And next is trying to build a healthy bedtime routine. So first, I'm going to go through these, and then I'll share some others that a lot of health psychologists use to treat sleep problem in their clients. So one, if you are hungry or you do want to have a little snack before bed, have some hot herbal tea, caffeine free, some warm milk or a banana. These are very specific recommendations for foods, but anything without a high sugar content, anything without caffeine, or anything that's not too heavy, something that's light and is easier to digest is a good option for a bedtime snack. Another one is this is really just for relaxation, having a bath. Again, for students that live in the dorms, you don't have access to baths, and if you did, I doubt you'd want to use them. But having a bath can be really relaxing, or say one of those hot things, those hot pillows you stick in the microwave. That's another nice way to relax your body with temperature. The next is going to bed at the same time every day, or as much as you can. And also engaging in maybe a pre-sleep routine. So you could do gratitude exercises, reflecting back on the day and thinking about what made you happy. That makes it that you're ending the day in a positive mood and closing the chapter on that day. Or it can be something else. It can be maybe you like listening to ASMR, or maybe you like reading a book, maybe you like reading a certain blog, something that maybe you're mentally associating it with going to sleep shortly after when you're doing it. Then next, if maybe you're really stressed after the day and you want to engage in some relaxation techniques, doing some deep breathing, listening to relaxing music, and then progressive muscle relaxation. And this one is essentially when you're going through your body, maybe starting at your hands and going up your arms, then down to your legs. It's when you're tensing consciously and then slowly untensing each part of your body. Just closing your hand in a fist, then letting it go, punching up your shoulders, and then exhaling and letting it go. So kind of bring some attention to your body there. The next is meditation, and it doesn't work for everyone. Not everyone engages with meditation, but it's just another form of relaxation where we can help bring our heart rate down, can help relax us and soothe us. And then another one is leave behind worries or try to schedule worry time. And for some people this works, some people it doesn't. Some people, they can't just say, here's a time in the day to worry, and then they're not worrying the rest of the day. But another thing is just practicing some acceptance, where if maybe you're laying asleep and you're thinking about all the things you feel like you had to get done, try to let yourself acknowledge whatever is going on is not going to be addressed this night, not going to be addressed at 2 a.m. It can wait till tomorrow, even if it feels like it can't. And then try practicing accepting that and accepting the decision that you're making, that you are not going to make progress in this one thing right now because you're dedicating this time to sleep. And then another one is sleep position, where some people fall asleep comfortably in different ways. Sometimes forcing yourself into a quote unquote healthier sleep position is keeping you from sleeping. But just staying in mind, like, what are comfortable positions for you to sleep? Is it good support under your neck? Is it good support under your hips, say if you're older? And how is your blanket situation, your pillow situation, and your mattress? And then some other sleep routines that I want to touch up on that I got from a lecture from a health psychologist is a lot of things that we've already touched upon, such as getting up at the same time daily when you can, and having a similar wake up routine every morning. So when you wake up, try to sit up upright to reduce your chances of falling back asleep, and try to introduce some light to the room. Open a curtain if you can. Get physically out of bed if you can, and try not to go back in, but if you do, just getting out of bed can be helpful. And for someone who struggles to struggles on keeping to snooze the alarm every single time it goes off, try to have your phone further away. Even if it's still within arm's reach, make sure you really have to stretch for it. That way you're forcing your body to move as soon as you wake up. Then another one is don't relax in bed too much. That way you can associate your bed with sleeping and especially not studying while you're in bed or reading emails while you're in bed. And then another one, and this is also a big one. We've touched on it before, but I want to touch on it again. If you're trying to go to bed and you're still awake and you're unable to sleep after 20 minutes, get out of bed and do something else. Because staying in bed, it's not going to increase your chance of sleeping, and it's only increasing the amount of time that you're spending in bed and not sleeping. And so getting up and doing something else, maybe making yourself tea. And another big thing is people that have sleep anxiety. So maybe and I think a lot of us get this sometimes, is that you have a big day tomorrow and you're stressed about that day and it's keeping you from sleeping. But you need that sleep to feel like you can handle that day. And so now you're stressed, and this stress is making you stress about not getting enough sleep. Letting it go and letting yourself leave the bed, letting yourself not keep on trying to fall asleep and having that anxiety increasing that you're not falling asleep. Next up is your sleep environment. And so really being mindful of what is your environment? What does your environment look like when you're trying to fall asleep? How are your mattress, your pillows, your sheets? Are they comfortable? Are they scratchy? Is your pillow not firm enough? Is it too firm? What's the temperature in your room like? Are you a comfortable temperature in your blankets? Are you too hot? Are you too cold? How is the noise and light in your room? Is there a way that you can reduce the amount of noise in your environment? How thick are your curtains? And if you can't afford to buy new curtains, can you buy a sleep mask to make sure you're having more darkness? And then can you introduce some white noise? Because that's another good one, where if you sleep in an apartment with really thin walls, you're not gonna be able to get those walls thicker. There's something you're gonna be able to do about that. But you can maybe put in a fan or get a white noise app on your phone and have that going. And then how is the ventilation? You could get a humidifier if you say that dry air is keeping you from sleeping, or an air purifier if you have allergies, because feeling congested also really impacts your ability to fall asleep at night. And then using your bed for bed activities. Activities that are limited to typically a bed, such as sex or sleep. And if you can, relaxing elsewhere, unless you're doing a wind down routine right before you're going to sleep. Next one is blanking on the title of that slide. The impacts of sleep deprivation. And we have already touched up on a lot of these. So some things to prevent sleep deprivation is going to bed and getting up at the same time each day, not eating or drinking too much when it's close to bedtime, when you take naps, keeping them short, and I'd say not only just before 5 p.m., but even earlier than that, exercising regularly, however that looks like for you. And then thinking about what you currently do and what could you start introducing, such as, are there any rituals or wind down routines that you want to try out to increase your sleep quality? Is there anything that you can do to keep your bedroom a relaxing place? Can you go to the library if you live in the dorms? Is there a different room in the apartment or the house that you live in if you live in one of those? Then going to bed in a dark, quiet room that isn't too hot or cold, then not lying in bed awake. So not being stressed, laying in bed and staring at the ceiling because you think that you have to stay in bed in order to fall asleep. That's not going to be as helpful as falling asleep than getting up and doing something else. Wrong keyboard again. And next, I just want to briefly touch up on, and can't read the title very clearly here, and the YouTube live as well. You're not really able to read that, but okay, there we go. It's you, and over here, it's you at Cal State Fullerton. And this is a place where we have a lot of resources just available for students to scroll through on their own time on our website that has different tips for relaxation, for self-care, stress management, and sleep. And so if you want to scan the QR code, you can, but also if you look up you at Cal State Fullerton, you'll also find all of this information. And this information is put by psychology professionals, put by different other professionals, and also students. And this website is Help Compass. There we go. Where for this one, it also helps to coordinate some help seeking and finding some help. Where maybe you can get an appointment here at CATS, our student health center, financial aid, whatever stressors you're dealing with in your life, make sure that you're allowing yourself to get that help and get that support with the resources that you have available. And this is just another one to do so. And next is practicing self-compassion and self-kindness, where this is a quote by Kristen Neff, instead of mercilessly judging and criticizing yourself for various inadequacies or shortcomings, self-compassion means you are kind and understanding when confronted with personal failings. And I think that this is something that's really important for college students when you're being evaluated so closely through grades or just the GPA and your perceived progress towards your long-term goals. So practicing that self-compassion is a big one. And you can visit self-compassion.org for more information about self-compassion and how to foster it. Then next, there's some QR codes here as well, just about the self-compassion scale, if you want to take that yourself and see where you land and just to reflect. And then there's also a self-compassion worksheet on that QR code next to that one. And the next one is we have some sleep wellness handouts and packets. One is a word cloud. If you'd like to add words to it. And another one is a sleep wellness handout. So just more on a lot of things that we covered today. And before we move on to some of the last slides, I want to briefly touch up on Phoebe's question in the chat. Roughly what would be the latest we could take a nap before it interferes with our sleep? I think that's a really good question. And I wish that there was a concrete answer for that, where I think it differs person by person. And I'm not personally sure if there is research that gives a strong cutoff. What I would recommend generally is trying not to take a nap past the early afternoon or having a nap long enough so that it leads into the early afternoon. So I would guess if you could take a nap around noon, around the middle of the day, maybe the middle point between when you woke up and when you're planning to next go to sleep, somewhere in the middle to fit maybe a 15 to 40-minute nap where it can be restorative but not interfere with your sleep cycle could be good, just to increase the distance of time between when that nap happened and when you're planning to sleep. That way it's not interfering with your, say, if you're trying to go to sleep at the same time every night, it's not interfering too much with that. Right, next one. Next one, I just want to briefly share about our CAPS resources. And these follow a pyramid format, where at the bottom in the blue are things that are accessible to everyone. You don't need an appointment, you just need internet connection and a device. And then the next one in the green zone are things that take a little bit more scheduling, more planning. Doggy therapy, you just need to follow our Instagram and we will tell you when doggy therapy happens and you just show up. Our CAPS Wellness Room, same thing. If you want to rent a massage chair or a nap pod, you have to schedule a time to do that, but you can do that any day that you would like, that we're open. Then we also have drop-in groups, wellness coaching and therapy groups. These are things where you're free to join them. There's no limits. And some of them do require a screening process, but other ones are open and any members are allowed to join whenever they would like to. You can find that through our website. And then for case management and referrals, you would need to get an appointment with a provider at CAPS to get in touch with a case manager. And our case managers can help students that are struggling with meeting their basic needs or getting in touch with health providers or health insurance. And then in the yellow, any student that pays their student health fee, they're entitled to an initial consult with one of our therapy staff. And this can help you get connected to long-term care potentially, or if students are a good fit for short-term therapy, we can also provide short-term therapy here. And we also have a singular massage therapist here, but she's fabulous and it's a cool thing we can offer. We also have some yoga groups here. We have one, I think one provider provides that as well. And at the top, this is something that every student can get in touch with at any time. So if a student is in crisis, you can call our front desk and that doubles as a crisis line. And you can also get in touch with UPD crisis team. And these are people whose obligation it is to help you get in touch with services and ensure your safety and your well-being if you are in an urgent crisis. And that is the end of the presentation. Does anybody have any questions or anything they'd like to follow up on?
Would we be able to talk to someone here about sleep? Like, that was a concern.
I would say yes. I would say that I'm not sure how big of specialization people have on sleep here, but this is a good place if, say, you want to target sleep in short-term therapy, you can target sleep in short-term therapy. That is something that can be done because that is relevant to mental health and behavior change. Though we could also, someone is trying to get in touch with sleep specialists, case managers can help, or at least help with, if you have a primary care doctor, maybe how to ask a primary care doctor.
Good starting.
A good starting point, just for some tips. And also, if you're thinking of medical components behind sleep, then definitely the primary doctor to get a sleep specialist is a good route to take. And just practicing some self-advocacy there, where if they try to lead you elsewhere, trying to stand up for yourself, trying to advocate for a sleep specialist who can address those more mental things and also conduct sleep studies and tests. Since that's not something that we can provide here. Since we can't say, we don't have any expensive sleep monitoring equipment that we have just period. And sleep specialists do have those equipments and do have sleep study labs where you would sleep one night and be studied. Does anyone have any other questions? All right, well, I want to thank you all so much for engaging and for coming today. I really, really appreciate it. And there is a evaluation over there. And for this QR code, and then there's also the link right there to submit an evaluation for today's presentation. It is anonymous. Please answer however is truthful to you. There are no repercussions either way for anyone, and we really value honest feedback. That way we can improve these presentations in the future. Take a few minutes to do that. right, everyone wrap that up. Great. Thank you so much for filling those out. Thank you for everyone in the chat for attending today and joining me with this. I really appreciate it. And have a fabulous rest of your day.